Life, Addictions, Mental Health, and Recovery, the radio show dedicated to your emotional, physical, and spiritual healing and rejuvenation. And I told you we had a treat. I'm so excited. I'm sure you will have heard of this woman's name. Dr. Carolyn Myss is the author of the national bestseller Anatomy of the Spirit with Norman Shealy, the co-author of The Creation of Health, Merging Traditional Medicine and Intuitive Diagnosis, Why People Don't Heal, which is the first time I saw you in a video of Why People Don't Heal, and Energy Anatomy. The book we're talking about today, which is, by the way, phenomenal, you're going to love it, Sacred Contracts, is just now out in paperback. So Carolyn Myss received her BA in journalism in 1974, her MA in theology in 1979, and her PhD in energy medicine in 1996. Many of you that listen are familiar with Hellos University. We talk about that a lot here. So Dr. Carolyn Myss is in the studio with us today talking about Sacred Contracts. I have to say, first of all, that the first time I saw that videotape, my father had just been diagnosed with cancer. He is, I think, 3 to 4 years survivor now. And because of you and people like you, my father, 81, totally embraced. He was like an atheist, businessman, totally embraced this lifestyle. All of his kids, we were totally into it, and he's the one watching your videotape, and we'd barely heard of you. So thank you. This show is dedicated to all the cancer survivors today, especially to my dad. So I'm so excited about this book because so many people say, welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you.
So many people say, when they come to my office, or I'm sure when they talk to you, well, I don't understand what my purpose is here on earth. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. I'm not sure what this is about.
Well, Suzi, part of it is the way our Western spiritual culture paints its picture of God. We have the God of employment. And so we have employment spirituality. Okay?
That's great.
Okay, but it's true. That people assume that my contract is an occupation. God, tell me what my occupation is. And then as soon as I get the job that I like and it pays what I want, but it can only be 2 days a week because I need 5 to recover because I'm so sensitive now. And I need to I need not to work for anybody else because that interferes with my spiritual enlightenment and my awakening. And
that is great.
All of this nonsense that until they get a path that what they're really looking for is tell me the one thing that I can do that will make me and give me all of that, plus stop the process of change from happening so that I can never have a surprise out of the blue experience again, have the rug pulled out from under me, and that must be my contract. And until I manage to create that kind of world or meet that kind of God, I will walk around this planet saying, where do I belong?
That's excellent. Unfortunately, I can relate to much of it. I remember early on when I got off of alcohol and drugs, I would say those things all the time until I finally accepted that change was part of it. Well, now, I loved reading about your personal process and how you went from a journalist to who you are today and what you do and helping people, a medical intuitive. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that, sort of your own sacred contract?
Not at all. Well, I was a journalist, and I actually had I have a very blessed inner life in that when I was 7, I remember telling my parents I was going to be a writer. And yeah, I did. I did at age 7, sort of a mini Mozart story. And then every decision I made from that point on was to write. Everything, books.
And you remember this?
Absolutely, as clear as day. Yeah, and all through high school and all through college. And it was. Then I had a job as a journalist, and I didn't like it, and I was very disappointed because I'd had 20 years by this time of building up expectations, and yowza, that was very disappointing for me. And so I ended up. I thought what was missing, and I realized I didn't know how to think. I knew I'd acquired the skill of writing and putting a sentence together, but I didn't know how to think, and therefore, or how to process thought, or how to process the soul. So I thought, I need some more work here. So I decided that I would pursue a graduate degree in theology, because if I could have done philosophy, but I could do that myself. But in theology, you need somebody to work your soul.
But is this after you saw Elizabeth Kubler-Ross?
No, Elizabeth came, yes, right during the graduate years, was the time I saw Elizabeth. It was 1978 because I got my degree in 1979. So right there, dead center in the middle, I went to the Kubler-Ross seminar. And why that was so earth-shattering to me was because it was the first time I saw anybody working with anybody in a therapeutic circle. There was someone there who had cancer. It's a very rich and engaging story, and it turned my life around. So I'll tell very, very, very slowly. Very fast. This was my first workshop. I had gone there actually to interview her, not to participate in the workshop. So I was kind of there under false pretense. Here's this woman, she just kept to herself, and I really was like someone who'd fallen down the rabbit hole. I was uncomfortable being in a therapy situation. I didn't like being around all these people. I couldn't wait to get out of there, and I spotted this girl who was keeping to herself, and so she attracted my attention for that reason, because she was not mingling like all these other people. I knew why I wasn't mingling. I didn't want to mingle, but I couldn't figure what she was. Anyway, it's now Thursday afternoon. Apparently, she had decided to leave. Elizabeth found out about it. The workshop started after lunch. Somebody started talking. Elizabeth, who's 5 feet tall, shoots out of her chair and says, "Stop talking," turns around and looks at her and says, "Come up here." This woman, she's 5'11", she walks up and she says, "I know you're thinking of leaving, but I will not let you go until you tell the group why you're here." The woman almost collapsed in her weakness and her intimidation. And finally, the woman said that she was there, that she left home when she was somewhere around 11 years old, hid in churches, hidden back, put herself through school, begged at doors for food. I mean, the story is like something that you would sound like Charles Dickens. Put herself through high school, put herself through college, put herself through graduate school. She had now this was July 1978. She had just gotten her degree in May 1978, only to find out that in June 1978 she had breast cancer. This woman is not alive. She passed away.
Aww.
But Elizabeth, it was the first time that I connected the dot that grief and trauma influenced the physical body. In this dramatic moment, Elizabeth turned around and said, "Who loves you?" And she said, "Nobody." She said, "Have you ever been held?" And she said, "No one's ever touched me." My heart shattered. Even now, 25 years later, I cannot recall that story without some part of me just truly breaking in two, because I did break in two that day. And from that moment on, I thought, how are we pieced together? What makes us tick? And that was the day I was born.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah, that was the day I was born. I went home from that workshop, and I remember that I came back home, and I said, I was still living with my parents because I was trying to finish school and get things done. And I said, I will never be a journalist again. I will not do it. I don't know what's in, and I never did. I never did. I came back and I said, I don't know what that world is, but I'm going in that direction. I didn't even know what to do. So when I was in theology, yeah, I'm not kidding you. I changed my whole life from that. I love her. I owe her.
That's
I
wonderful.
adore her. But that was the day that I woke up.
Well, when the reason I wanted you to share that experience is so many people get lucky enough to have some sort of life-changing experience. For me, similar things happened when I stopped drinking and drugging. Some people have a near-death experience, and it seems like the Sacred Contract book is a way to help you put together, if you don't understand when your life changed and what your life is supposed to be about, because you knew then part of what it was going to be was about healing. And so many people haven't had that experience, but your book is a great way to start to put some pieces together and understand, if you haven't had that kind of experience, how your life is taking you that way already.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it seems like that was the opening up for you, and I just appreciate you sharing so personally, because that's what I love, and that's why I do what I do, because those are the things that really touch us and get us to change. Now, it seems like as you worked with people in your workshops, you saw that they didn't sort of know where their life was going, and is that when you started putting this together?
Yeah, through the years, when I first started to do readings, my focus, medical intuitive readings, my focus was on what made you sick. All right, so I did that for several years, and then I became more captivated by why you weren't healing, because I thought, how come with all the knowledge we have accumulated about, organic food and this and that, and meditation, visualization, aromatherapy, this therapy, reflexology, that ology, this ology, why are we not healthier than, and we weren't healing better, and we still had not outwitted cancer, and et cetera, so not in the large doses we thought we would. So I started to wonder about that. And then the next thing was I finally realized that the fundamental question of life, the question that we all need to attend to, is to appreciate our lives and to discover what we find as that which has meaning, and that it's impossible to come to terms with what has meaning in your life if you look for it only in the physical world. If you think that what gives your life meaning will be stuff and more stuff, and you are a believer in the God of stuffology, and as soon as I have my house and my stuff and more stuff, where is my stuff? And is my stuff sleeping with your stuff? And my God, where is it? That you will always kind of want more. You'll always want more. It's not until you broaden that spectrum and you think, maybe part of why I was born too includes the things my spirit has to do. Maybe part of the way I learned to love has a great deal to do with why I incarnated. Maybe my way of being of service, maybe my way of teaching and enlightening others, maybe my way of being enlightened. Maybe part of my reason to be born was to break my neck in an equestrian challenge so that I can be an inspiration to others. Maybe the way every single part of our life, all of our relationships that have any animation, all of our challenges, all of our opportunities, all of our talents, all of it pieced together to form the mandala of our life's contracts. Remember, it isn't one, but it's multiple. And in looking at this, I realized that one of the reasons people don't heal is because they can't let go of yesterday. They simply cannot. They can't forgive. They can't let go. They hang on. And I thought, if you understood that relationship as perhaps from the point of view that it could have been a contract, that maybe you came together and come together with people in your life because they serve a fundamental role to wake you up, to make you realize, you know what? I need everybody else's approval. I do it all the time. And I don't feel good about my life until you tell me I can feel good. Now, at some point, you got to wake up and realize you don't give that kind of power to anybody. You're the one that has to approve of your life. And if I were your angel, and I were going to try and arrange ways for you to wake up to that, I would lead you into relationships with all these people who would never give you approval, who wouldn't even imagine, and they would be under orders not to give you approval. This is exactly what they're supposed to be, is to absolutely never approve of you. And to do this in such a way so that you finally wake up and say, I'm not going to be at this hurt anymore. I'm going to develop enough self-esteem so that I don't need to, and then the light bulb will go on. Sell myself, negotiate myself, be less than myself because I need your approval. I don't need your approval. Now follow this through. Once you reach that point of self-empowerment, then you can afford to listen to guidance that deals with your highest potential because you won't compromise it. You won't say, but what if people laugh at me? But what if I fail? Because you will have birthed a level of self that says, actually, your opinion of me doesn't matter. I don't know how to break this to you, but it absolutely doesn't count. What matters to me is my opinion of me. And I need to maintain that because I want to fulfill the highest purpose I can in this lifetime. And if your opinion of me means more to me than mine, I will never get there.
That is great. I was excited when you were talking because two things. I saw a couple of things from the book from a slightly different perspective, but I can't verbalize it yet. You're so articulate. And the other thing I was thinking is, so if we look at war and what's about to happen differently, sort of from this perspective, well, anyway, I can't articulate it. How do you see that and what's happening? I was dying to ask you that. What's happening
Bad
with our
metaphor.
country? But is there a contract?
Yeah.
When you said that, I thought, oh, so
Okay,
maybe.
so here's the thing. All right, you're asking like a great big huge question that it's very hard for people to take a symbolic point of view when they are emotionally or politically or patriotically connected to something. I need to say that. Because if we were just talking about something that had no venom, then maybe a point like I'm about to make could be made. And maybe if I could turn back the clock, I would make it this way. And let's talk as though this was in the 1990s. And there was at that time, well, in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, a feeling that the age of Aquarius was upon us, and an age of light, and an age of the new spirit, and all this other stuff, and an age of brotherhood and oneness and global everything. And that spun a movement toward global unity and the idea of the environmental movement and the idea of one planet. That dropped in a whole different archetype, the archetype of the planetary community and holism, the same archetype that in the micro is the archetype of the whole body and the planetary global health in your body. All the organs have to be as one and not as divided nation states. Okay? This is a whole new metaphor. This is a whole different paradigm. But old paradigms don't give up their territory. They won't do it. They won't do it. The idea of the sovereign nation, the idea that if in my border I can do what I want. Okay? Now what we've got is a world, simultaneously, as we spoke about this wonderful new era of light we're entering into, nobody thought exactly of what that would look like, did we?
Right.
Now how exactly are we going to dismantle this paradigm of divide and conquer and separate nations and sovereign states and get to the paradigm of globalization? And even if we don't like each other, the fact of the matter is all of our challenges are global. The ozone, water, our weapons. There isn't anything now that can allow for sovereign border. We cannot do it now. It's too late. Our crises and our weapons have now made the sovereign border, obsolete. We cannot do that. You can maintain your music and your culture, but you know what? You are not allowed to make weapons of mass destruction because you know what? You can kill this person, that person, and you know what? We are not allowed to just pull out of treaties at our whims and do this or that. Both sides are equally toxic. The archetype of the all or nothing individual, I'll do whatever I want to this planet, to the environment, to this or that, has gotten out of control. And the archetype of the tribe, which says, I will pass on my hatred and my this and that, because tribes are not forgiving. Individuals are. So you're damn right we're in a jihad, because it is a global archetypal war of two paradigms that cannot coexist in a global village and survive.
Wow. I had no idea of even thinking or perceiving of it that way.
That's the way it is.
It is. It's amazing.
It's the way it is.
And
so, the question then becomes one, so the contract, yes, it's a what's a contract? Now wait, so you've jumped to the war. The contract is, it is inevitable that that there is a shift in the fundamental archetypal way. Like, here's an example. Obviously, for many people, they saw the logic and the need and recognized the wisdom of assuming the one body approach to their health, the body, mind, spirit, the unity. They did not have to wait till a nuclear war hit in their body called disease in order to make the political changes necessary in their theology, in their philosophy. Okay? In that very same way, we, the planetary village, could have avoided this because we don't want to. We don't want to share. We don't want to do that. Our whole maybe in theory, but not in fact. And I'm talking about not Americans, not just Americans. Americans are ridiculously generous people. We are so generous. And we are so, if you look at the politics of our nation, we are the only country that was born with a constitution for the spirit, by the spirit, to protect the spirit. We were consciously conceived of as a spiritual experiment, not just for us. Franklin and Jefferson would say, you know what? We have to do this for all humanity. This isn't for us. This is for those who will come after us. Our vision of this country is magnificent. These men knew they'd incarnated at the same time. They knew it. They discussed it. They lined it up. How many countries just happen to have the group of Illuminati that were born at this time? Come on, snap out of it. You have Franklin, you have Jefferson, you have Monroe, you have Adams, you have Hamilton, you have Thomas Paine, you have common sense. No. It doesn't take a whole lot to realize what an extraordinary group of Illuminati. And look at this. They all share this incredible passion that the natural law of the spirit should be merged into a political system. Oh my, I think they're mystics who incarnated as politicians. That's what's going on here.
That is great.
Now, this is my new book, The Sacred Contract of America.
Oh my God, that is great.
Yeah, it's my new book. But take a look at this very question, leading to this jihad, leading to the fact that I walk the reader through the 12 archetypes of America. And finally, it is our role in the new world, in globalization, a nation whose contract was one of liberation in the democratic spirit, and to forge the liberation of humanity. The most unliberated vessel is the tribe, and the most unliberated tribe is Muslim. Now, having said that, they are the carriers of great wisdom. They are the carriers of great tradition. And they're also the carriers of great pain, as we are. But you look at the way they repress their women in Afghanistan. You look at so much of the culture where they themselves are crying.
Children.
I'm representing their words. These aren't my words. I repeat, these are not my words. These are words from the Afghani women that I've spoken to, and the other Arab women, and the organizations of Arab women I've met here in this country, who are screaming for the type of liberation that has come from the West. It's the men that are screaming about not liberating them. Not the women. Not the women. Because they get their hands chopped off. So, point being that the tribe is the carrier of great wisdom and a great passion for the earth but all the goodness that comes out of the tribe has been eclipsed by all the shadow. And all the goodness that comes out of the pioneering spirit of the individual has been eclipsed through greed. Through me first. So both are in the shadow. And that's why this conflict is a contract.
You mean we're on the me first shadow?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Right.
And, that is the shadow side of liberation. Don't tell me what to do.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand now?
Yes.
It is the shadow side of I can be any kind of entrepreneur. I can rape the earth if I want. I could do whatever I want. Business is business. Da-da-da-da.
Everybody
can't
does
do
it.
that.
Right.
You can pursue the self with great enlightenment, but you must respect the tribe and you must respect the impact your pursuit will have on the whole. It's not that the whole should control your pursuit, but you must attend to the consequences of what you are doing to the whole. And one of the most heinous examples is those greedy slobs at Enron that did whatever they wanted to do.
Oh,
as
it's
if
disgusting.
600 million isn't enough for
Right.
these slobs.
Right.
And they turn around.
Perfect
They
example.
don't care who they put into hell.
Right.
So long as they're arrogant greediness. And you think they'd be satisfied? Do you know that an $800 million person's just a frustrated billionaire? Nothing would be enough for these people. But that is the example of the worst of individual entrepreneurial capitalism that could care less about the tribe. They destroyed their own tribe that made them sweat it out those hours.
Exactly.
Oh, I can't even tell you what I would do if I was a judge. You can't imagine what I would do to them.
I wish you were. That is great.
Yeah. And I would get out of here with all your lies and you didn't do anything, you didn't know anything. Are you crazy? How do you get to a job in that kind of position and suddenly not know anything? You're up there because you did know everything.
They should be severely punished. I mean, hideously. Well, we have barely
I
gotten
know what
into
I'm
the
doing.
details of your book, but that was such a wonderful example of what your book is and put in.
Well, let me share my website because I do a monthly
I've been on it. It was great.
writing
It's great.
for it's myss.com. And, I continue with instruction on archetypes. I actually started an institute to work with people in small groups for a year so that it's CMED, CMED. It's on my site. And it's a archetypal exploration of the self for one intensive year.
And
So.
I've heard wonderful things about it. It's an excellent website. I was on it. And Dr. Myss, Carolyn, this was a wonderful show. It was very helpful to me personally because I was thinking as I was reading your book, maybe I was picking up on your energy, but I kept thinking, well, I wonder how this would apply to the United States. So that was just a very passionate and wonderful lesson for me. So I really appreciate it. Let me just say again, Sacred Contracts, if you have ever wondered why you are here on this planet, there's a wonderful way to find out, an excellent sort of step-by-step example. You can also go on the website if you want a quick, brief version, but I highly recommend it if you're not sure about exactly what you're here for. So thanks again, Carol, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.